Right, flat rides are not for everyone. Some people love them, some people hate them, and some just go right past them. But when they're good, they can be brutally intense and very, very memorable. So let's go through my top 10, shall we? Now, when you think about flat rides, more often than not, you actually think about the travelling fair versus permanent parks. At least here in the UK, flat rides tend to be lacking. And the first one I'm going to go to is in the UK, and it kind of is a bit of a travelling ride, although it is in a park, and that is the Twister down in Breen. I did this last year with Carly and was in absolute stitches. This thing was running on an incredibly good cycle, which is kind of the problem with a lot of these flat rides. Some of them can be run at a very kind of like intense mode, and sometimes they're just on a very gentle cycle. But when I went on the one in Breen, it was going full pelt and we were in stitches, crashing into each other. It was just so much fun. So starting here in the UK. The next one at number 9 is a little bit strange because on the face of it, well, I mean, it's just a carousel. And that is the carousel out in Knobles. And as I say, it is basically just a carousel, but with a slight twist. And that twist is that there's this kind of retracting arm at the side of the carousel where they kind of roll down these rings that you're supposed to catch on your way around. And if you catch the gold ring or the bronze ring, there's a specific color you're trying to get. Most of them are just sort of silver rings. You get a prize of some description. But basically, that just means you are hanging off this thing, which is really difficult to do, by the way, because you're trying to hold on and lean out and try to grab this. And it's just a lot of fun. So it's a nice little twist to a very simple ride. Okay, so number 8, we're going to head over to Spain and into Portaventura for a ride that when I first saw this, I thought, why on earth does this go over the shoulder restraints? It seemed a little bit bonkers to me. The ride itself, and apologies for the pronunciation here, Serpiente Emplumada. Basically, this weird, it's almost like sombrero hat things that rotate in this kind of undulating arms. It's actually surprisingly intense. I'm not sure it does need the over the shoulder restraints as such, but it is actually a lot of fun and definitely more extreme than I thought it was going to be just looking at it off ride. For number 7, we're coming back to the UK for a ride that, to the best of my knowledge, is a one of a kind. If it's not, please let me know in the comments down below. But the ride in question is Lightning 360 at Great Yarmouth Pleasure Beach. Strange little ride. Basically, it's kind of like a number of gondolas on this arm that kind of spins round and kind of rises up a little bit conceptually like a Starflyer or something like that. It's not a Starflyer, you're not in swings. You're in these kind of, again, over the shoulder restraints for a good reason this time. You're in a kind of 2-seat vehicle, supposed to be like a plane, and in the middle of those 2 seats is a joystick because you have complete control over the revolutions. So this is kind of like, I get quite annoyed when I go on the Zamperla plane things like the Red Arrows one at Blackpool because I can't make the damn thing go upside down. This one is electronic. You have a gear stick, a joystick thing, and you can decide to rotate it. You could sit sideways for the whole time, you could go upside down. I did it again with Ben from Ben and Holly, and I held it upside down for a little bit, and the blood went to both of our heads. But I really enjoyed this. I'd like to think there are more of these, but as I say, I've heard it's a one of a kind, so if there are more, let me know, because I want to get on them again. There's a couple of ride types that I quite like. One of them is the swings, right? I do like the sort of wave swinger sort of rides. I haven't put any in this list because there's not really one specific example that stands out. But another ride that is fairly common is a pirate boat. There's obviously many pirate boats out there, various sizes in lots of different parks. Well, the one that I'm going to put on my list is the Half Moon or Half Main, I think it is, over in Efteling. And the reason for that is just because of the size of it. I know it was the largest boat when it opened. I don't know if it still is or if it's been beaten, but it's a giant. It is a big boat, so you get a decent amount of airtime at the top there, because we all stand, especially if you're at the extremes of that boat, you kind of stand up a little bit. Fantastic. So I do love a pirate ship, and this is a great example of one. Right, we're halfway through my list right now, and if you're enjoying this one, make sure you hit that like button for me. And if this is your kind of content, or if you've seen a number of my videos, I'd really appreciate if you would hit that subscribe button as well. Another fairly common ride type would be a drop tower. And I'll be honest with you, I almost put Tower of Terror from Disneyland Paris on here, because I was like, it is a drop tower, so that's a flat ride. But then I was like, it's kind of a dark ride, borderline, so I didn't put it on my list. But I do thoroughly enjoy that ride, The drop tower, however, I am going to put on the list is the one over at King's Dominion, the imaginatively known drop tower. Pretty sure it's Intamin, judging by the seats, because the seating arrangement is very similar to the gyro swing. So think very much like Evictus that we're getting here in Blackpool. The reason that I put this one on, though, is, I mean, on the face of it, it's just a drop tower like any other, right? So you've got this big circular gondola of seats. It takes you up. It doesn't hold you there for a huge amount of time before it drops you. But I actually slightly pooped myself because typically these things, when they drop, the brakes kick in about halfway down, and then you're just very gentle in the last half. No, this one, the brakes are right at the bottom, to the point that I was like, oh my god, I'm going to hit the deck. Like, it properly just goes flying down and then at the very last second. So that to me was fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. As far as drop towers are concerned, it's right up there. I will caveat this with, I haven't braved any of the kind of leaning ones like Hurricane Condor or that. You know, the ones that kind of tilt you forward. I probably will go on one at some point, but I am a little bit nervous about them. So without being on any of those tilting drop towers, this one's top of my list. Right, another ride type that I am a big fan of is a screaming swing. Now, for some of you, the only example you may have experienced is Rush at Thorpe Park. I have been on quite a few of these now, large ones, small ones. There's one over in Liseberg, again, reasonably small, but swings out over the side of the hill, which is quite nice. But the biggest example I've been on, I had been on Serengeti Flyer at Busch Gardens, but then I went on, I think it's Twizzler at Hershey Park, which I think has now also been beaten. I think there's now a bigger version of this. But this was a massive screaming swing. And again, one side swings out over kind of a nice gap. And it was fantastic. I went on it, when I did my trip to the US, it was stinking hot, like uncomfortably so. But I thought, oh, I'll go on this swing, you know, got a nice breeze and it'll cool me down. No, I just got hit in the face by warm air. But fantastic ride, absolutely love it. Love a screaming swing, and this is the best one I have been on. Right, so that gets us up to the top three then. And the third top ride for me is, I'm probably going to pronounce this really badly, Kraftwerket. Basically, it is the Huss Breakdance 5 over in Liseberg, the newest generation of Huss Breakdance, and it is absolutely bonkers. It is a spectacle to watch off-ride because it's got a cracking lighting package on it, spins around, it's absolutely fantastic, and it is way more intense than I expected. If you've watched my vlog from Liseberg, I lost my shades. They were sort of tucked into my hoodie. It didn't last very long. It kind of, that particular one, when I did it 2 or 3 times, the cycle they were running when I was there was kind of split in 2 halves. So the first part of it, you're going around and you're like, oh, this is okay. This is kind of a reasonably gentle, but with a little bit of force in it. And then it sort of slows down and you think, all right, okay, that's it done. And then they go, nope, now we're going to crank it up to 12. And it is bonkers. Properly intense forces, which I like an intense flat ride. This was kind of, there's a point where you go, this is good fun. And then you go, okay, now you can stop. It was very close to getting to the point of, okay, you can stop. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if you're ever out in Liseberg, definitely get on it. My number 2 is a ride that I know some people class as the best flat ride in the world. And the good thing is, we're about to get one here in the UK. An example that I am going to put at number 2 is Loki over in Liseberg. So another reason to get out to that park. It is, of course, the big giant Intamin gyro swing, the exact same model as Evictus that is coming to Blackpool in a couple of months' time. And it is fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed this thing. A bit like people have said for Evictus, I know some people are like, doesn't look that big. I kind of felt the same about Loki when I got to Liseberg, until I stood next to the damn thing, and then you're like, yep, nope, this is definitely the big version. And of course, it's a lap bar, so you are completely free in the upper body to kind of move around, and it is just fantastic. The airtime, Carly came on it with me. She doesn't do rides like that. We both do have tickets to be among the first people to ride Evictus. She's not sure if she's actually going to go. I mean, I hope she goes because we've got a ticket for it. But I thoroughly enjoyed this thing. As I say, it is number 2 on my list, and I'm so happy we're getting one here in the UK. Right, well, that leaves the number 1 spot then. And this is a ride that we do have in the UK, but the version I'm going to talk about is kind of takes it up many, many notches. And that is Talocan over in Phantasialand. Now, this is a Huss topspin. It's the exact same model as Toxicator at Alton Towers. but they've just cranked it up quite a few notches. I quite like Toxicator in terms of the ride experience, the theming. I know some people are like, it's just a painted slab of concrete. I mean, they're not wrong, but I kind of like it. Talican, on the other hand, just takes it up a little bit more. It's got the water similar to Toxicator, but it also has flame effects, and it is just the one thing that's a little bit frustrating about it is obviously like Toxicator, it is the kind of new model, the suspended Hus topspin. So you have a row of seats facing one way and a row of seats facing the other. Now, in the case of Toxicator, that's fantastic because there is a view no matter which way you are facing. In the case of Talican, there's a wall behind it. So if you're on one side, you are basically staring at a wall. I mean, upside down because you're flipping, but the other side, you get the spectacle. The cycle on this thing, though, is absolutely fantastic. I don't know how many spins you get on or flips you get on Toxicator. You get significantly more on Talican, and it feels way, way more intense. So, as an overall package, Talican just to me is spectacular. It is an absolutely fantastic ride, and it is in a beautiful park. Probably my favourite theme park out there, and I've been to some crackers. So anyway, that is my top 10. I'm sure yours is very different. You've probably ridden things I haven't. So and even if you've ridden some of these, you might not be as much of a fan as I am. So let me know your comments down below what your top 10 is. And as always, I've been Chris, you've been watching Coaster Dad, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.